Welcome to Body Sculpt of New York 6 Weeks to Fitness podcast, where we hope to inform, motivate, encourage, and inspire you towards living a healthier lifestyle. And now, here's your host, the president of Body Sculpt of New York, Vince Ferguson.
Welcome to 6 Weeks of Fitness, episode 234. Thank you so much for joining me today. Anthony Bonapart is a Gulf War veteran and former United States Air Force Security Forces specialist, where he served in elite roles such as Kennel Master for military working dogs, Chief of Security and Inspector General for U.S. Air Forces in Europe. After a distinguished military career, he continued his public service as Deputy Director in the North Carolina Department of Justice. He now serves as a licensed private investigator and published author. His book, Sophia, Lessons for the Unschooled Mind, is a powerful and reflective novel about a young man named Kosef, who seeks answers to life's big problems, life's big questions, through deep conversations with his wise grandmother, Sophia. It's a story that explores universal themes, morality, self-knowledge, human behavior, even the universe itself, all through the lens of generational wisdom and the idea that true education comes not just from books, but from experience, reflection, and meaningful dialogue. Sophia's voice is strong, grounded and full of the kind of wisdom many will recognize, especially in African-American communities where matriarchal insight has long been a source of strength and guidance. This is a book that challenges how we define learning and reminds us that the path to understanding starts from within. And I am so pleased to welcome Anthony Bonapart to my 6 Weeks to Fitness podcast. Anthony, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, man. And let me just start by saying thank you for your service.
Yes, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual, right?
Yeah, the feeling is mutual. Yeah.
Now, as a veteran, Anthony, and a storyteller, what inspired you to write Sophia, Lessons for the Unschooled Mind, in the style of a parable rather than a traditional narrative?
Well, thank you for the question, Vincent. I enjoy creating engaging short stories that convey valuable life lessons. And I like to enable readers to reflect and apply the insights in my books to their lives. My goal is to express profound truths and through my narratives, and I strive to transport readers to different worlds, different time and places that they may not encounter in novels that they read. So that's what I strive to do.
Well, I think you're doing a very good job, I really do. Now, because I know when it comes to parables, they often carry deep spiritual or moral truths, especially when you think about the Bible, right? Jesus spoke in parables, right? So what core life lessons or truths do you hope readers will walk away with after reading Sophia?
Okay, thank you for that question. So after reading Sophia, I want readers to reflect on the type of society or world that they want to live in. The insights that Sophia shares with Kosef, are designed to resonate I designed them to resonate with a wide range of people in our society. So although I intentionally avoid detailing the specific time and place that their journey takes place, I think that the readers will find that the lessons in the book are applicable to today's society. I really do believe that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very deep, man. I must say, the name Kosef, though, where did that come from?
Kosef, and I'm glad you asked that because I did some research on the name. In the Jewish name Yosef, which in English is translated to Joseph.
Right.
And so that the name Kosef is derived from the name Yosef.
Yes.
Israelite name. And
Yeah.
and I did find the meaning, and it means God will increase or
Really?
intervene, or God will bless you. Yeah.
So Kosef means God will increase, God will bless you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow, maybe
And
nice.
yeah, and I found the name. I was in a village and I was, this was in the late 80s, and I was in a village in Turkey, and there was a little boy running around, and his mother was calling, and I asked the interpreter. I said, "What did he say? What did she say?" He said, "His name is Kosef." I said, "Kosef." I said, "How did you spell that?" And she wrote spelled it to him, and he wrote it out. Had a little back then in the military. We carried these little green books, and I wrote it Kosef in there, and I kept it, and I used it for this book. I kept it all these years until I had a chance to use it.
Who knew that you would be using that name down the road, right?
Yeah. I just do it, so I kept. I transferred it to the computers when computers came in, and I kept it now. And I said I had a name I wanted to use for this book, and that's how it came about.
That is rich. That's so cool. Now, Kosef's transformation unfolds through the dialogues with his grandmother, Sophia.
Hmm.
Was this intergenerational relationship inspired by someone in your own life, Anthony?
Okay. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a street. It's called Katona Avenue, near Johnson C. Smith University there in Charlotte. And after, our elementary school was right around the corner. So we, as little kids in the second, third grade, we would get out and walk around to the school back in those days. And our mothers, would be catching the bus to go to work. So when we got out of school, a lot of times our parents would not be home. So the ladies, the mothers in the community would take care of us until our mothers came home. And so they used to talk to us, and provide us with, a way to make it in America. Because back then it was tough. So us boys, they used to talk to us a lot about what it takes to be men, in America. So I never forgot that. But my mother was my main champion, and she would
Ah,
always say to me when I was to try to achieve something, son, the sky is the limit. Son, the sky is the limit. So I never, never forget
wow.
those words. So my thoughts went to her when I was writing this book. So you was right on with that question.
That's really good. Sometimes people don't realize the impact they have in our lives, you know?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've written other short stories with spiritual and moral themes, Anthony, but how does Sophia compare or build upon those earlier works of yours?
Well, Sophia is written in the same vein as the second book that I wrote, Dreams in Print, and that the stories are meant to entertain and provide readers with, moral lessons in life.
Hmm.
Uh, some of the stories in this book have a religious, delve into religious or spiritual beliefs.
Right.
But I'd be for the person that's is really busy, he or she doesn't have time to read the large novels, Moby Dick and Frankenstein. And this book is perfect for them because they're short stories. So I strive to challenge readers, to think critically about right and wrong in this particular book, and again to consider the kind of society that they want for themselves and for their children.
Hmm. Wow. So it's spiritual, it's inspirational, it's also educational,
Mhm.
which is great, you know?
Hmm. Thank you.
But now, the idea of the unschooled mind is powerful. But what does that phrase, unschooled mind, mean to you personally? And how does it challenge conventional views on education and wisdom, Anthony?
Okay, that's a very good question. So for me, unschooled can describe someone who maybe in this case, Kosef is well educated, but he lacks an understanding or a knowledge about life. So
Hmm.
his question is on life because he goes to the best schools.
Nice. Okay.
So despite attending, the prestigious schools, he grapples with questions, about life that his formal education, it doesn't provide answers to. So he's sent to his wise grandmother, uh, to seek that understanding. And she provides that understanding through, when he asks the question, she provides that understanding through parables, actually taking him to the place where some of these situations occurred. So the journey highlights the importance, I think, of seeking knowledge beyond traditional, education, and the invaluable lessons that one can learn from personal connections, like the one that Kosef has with his grandmother.
Yeah, most definitely, because I noticed that you tackle some pretty big questions in Sophia, and you mentioned that. And so, which is great. I'm talking about war, prejudice, even the universe.
Yeah.
So these are topics that you extrapolate and you said, okay, you're dealing with these topics. Most kids don't think about these things,
Yeah.
But Kosef, yes, and Sophia is educating them on these matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But Anthony, as a Gulf War veteran, how have your military experiences shaped the way you think about themes like discipline, morality, and internal strength, all of which show up in your writings?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So as you read my book, you discover that Sophia possesses discipline. Of course, Kosef is a young boy, and young boys are not just she's trying to teach him discipline, but her discipline has been shaped by all the trials and tribulations that she has experienced throughout her life, and it's kind of expressed through me. So
Right.
when you talk about discipline, I put discipline in this character because the trials that I've faced in life, and then that's what I say about this character. So that's how it's portrayed. But her spirituality drives her to be a moral person who and believes in doing what is right, and she her inner strength, and so just like mine, comes from her experiences and the act of simply living. And I believe, this is just my personal view,
Yes.
that just living this life and going through the trials and tribulations can make you stronger. And I think the readers would see that in Sophia.
Sounds really good. But even being in the military, like you have been, I mean, you've gone through a lot. You've dealt a lot with all kinds of situations and circumstances. So I'm sure that added to your discipline, your morality, what you were brought up to believe as a young man going into adulthood. All these things contribute to who you are today. Would you say?
Most definitely. The discipline. Okay, before I put on the uniform of the United States of America, I felt that I was undisciplined. Although my mother had instilled a level of discipline in me to not quit, to keep pushing and I'm not talking about, when I say quit, I'm not talking about like you playing a sport and you decide not to play it anymore. When she was talking about not quitting, she's talking about life.
Yes.
You can quit a sport, you can quit being a part of an organization. You just quit for different reasons. But life, you cannot give up. Because life don't take no prisoners. You got to keep going, and you got to keep pushing forward. And so, but the military gave me that extra step of discipline that I needed to persevere in some tough times. Because
Right.
me and like all others, you go through times that are tough, and it takes discipline to make it through. And you would see that in the character in the book, and when it comes to the grandma talking to her her grandson, she in her words, he will be able to feel some of the pain that she has been through in life, just through living life.
Wow, that's deep. It really is. Now, there's a beautiful moment in the book that suggests the universe was born from nothing by a power beyond our ability to understand. How does this reflect your spiritual beliefs or sense of awe about life? And you touched on it, but give me a little bit more about that.
Well, that's a good question. I began crafting this book several years ago. I remember I was in Turkey. This was in this had to be in the early '90s, and I think I was going to visit the home of the Apostle Paul in Tarsus. Then
Oh,
we came upon a field, and in this field was just hundreds of thousands of butterflies. And I was young then; I was very young, but I
right.
never forgot this. And it was just filled with these butterflies, and I was standing in the middle of it, and all these colors. And I remember thinking, how did this become? How did life create all of this? And of
Yes.
course, our scientists are trying to figure that out, but have not come to a conclusion yet. Now, I'm not going to talk about my spiritual beliefs because I don't want to provide, I don't want to give that to the audience. Everyone has their own beliefs.
Right.
But that day when I was in the middle of millions of butterflies and all those colors, and I'm thinking, how could this be? I'm still pondering that question today.
Hmm.
So, and we're all searching for it in our own ways. I have my own way in my own beliefs, how it became, but
Right. Right.
something in your life, when you're standing there, you're looking at it and you got to think, how can this be? How did this just appear? So I don't have an answer, but that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, but that's great. And also to have Kosef think about that, because
Yeah,
you wonder, how did we all get here? The
yeah,
beauty that we see, the sun shining every day, and
everything, yeah,
I mean, all this doesn't just happen. You know what I'm saying? There's an intelligent design behind it all. You
right,
know, and we're all part of it. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and to have a young man learn about this from his grandmother. You
yeah,
know, the wisdom that she's espousing to him. Because it takes a village to raise a child, right? That's what
hmm,
they say. It takes a village,
amen,
man. So we can't do it alone, and none of us are here by ourselves. We're standing on the shoulders of greatness, of others who've come before us, right?
amen, amen. There
I
you
truly,
go.
I truly believe that. Now, I know that you see storytelling, especially spiritually rich parables, as a form of healing, both for the writer and the reader. Is that correct?
I do. I do. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's important too,
Hmm,
because it's kind of
hmm.
like a therapy, not only for those who write it, but those who read it, which
Right.
is which
Right.
is great. At one point during our conversations, you said you enjoy writing short stories with moral depth. Where do you typically draw inspiration for those stories, though? Life experience, faith, observation?
Uh, life. I would say life experience and observation. Let me give you an example.
Okay, good.
Uh, the story in the book is called Conviction. It's the last story in the book, and this is based on it's about voting. It's about a race of women saving their men from extinction through voting. So it's an interesting story. But that is derived from me observing African American women, and I wrote it, and I wrote it to honor African American women. That particular
Ah,
story.
right.
But the story, what I've observed is that in my lifetime as an African American boy, I've observed African American women will uh, will observe a candidate and they will draw their conclusions and they will vote in mass
Hmm.
for that particular candidate that they have chosen. And so, in honor of that, and my mother was one of those. So I've always appreciated that. So in honor of that, that power, that belief in democracy is why I wrote the story Conviction in the book. So it's from my observations and experience.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. Now, how long is the book?
How what now?
Yeah, how long? How many pages is the book?
Oh, it's a short stories. It's only about 80 pages. You could read it in two or three sittings, especially if you're
Wow.
really busy. You don't like to read long novels. But
Right.
the good thing about it is the it's the power that you will get from each story. Something that may change your life.
Mm,
I read this I ain't gonna say the name of it. I read a novel
yeah.
recently. It's huge, and this is politics.
Mm,
I read this book for weeks, and I only got one word out of it, and that was corruption. That was it.
that was it.
I read this whole book all these weeks. That's it.
Wow.
So I try to write stories that shorter but have meaning and will help you in your life struggles. So.
That's good. That's very
Mhm.
good. So, but in today's fast-paced world, Anthony, why do you think there's such a need for a deep need for moral and spiritual storytelling?
Well, so I don't want to put my views out on the public, but
Go
when
ahead,
you,
man.
when you watch what is going on today, in this society, and
Yes.
uh, let me put it this way: I have a story, and one of the stories in the book. Let me find it. Here it's called "People Who Believe in Lies." That's one
Mm,
of the stories in the book.
yes.
And I wrote that to pertain to what's happening today. And it focuses on the consequences of knowingly embracing untruths.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I see that's happening in society today.
Yes.
In one way, one fashion or another. And
Yeah.
so I think that short stories or parables are very relevant and needed in today's society to try to bring us back into focus on on what is right and what is wrong. That's my belief.
Yes. I think it's a very, very good belief. Really. In a book like this, and how do you plan on getting the word out about this book so more people can benefit from these lessons that you're putting forth here?
Okay, I'm definitely trying to hook up with people like you, Vincent,
Okay.
as much as I can, and
Yes.
but people can obtain my book. I'm on Facebook, uh,
Right.
so you can connect with me there. I'm on
Yes.
LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn at Anthony Bonapart, and you can follow me on Instagram, and that's Anthony. That's Bonapart, Anthony Bonaparte.
Right.
Or if the person wants to write me, I have a PO box, PO Box 1757 in Garner, North Carolina 27529. And you can order my book, Sophia Lessons for the Unschooled Mind, online at Amazon.com and at Barnes and Noble.
Great, great. And I'm going to put that information in the comment section as well, so that
Mhm.
those who watch this video or even listen to it will know where they can find that information. And the fact that it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Nobles, it's easily
Mhm.
accessible to everyone. You're right.
That's correct.
Exactly. Now, but how does your own wellness journey, Anthony, physical, mental, and spiritual, show up in your writing? And what advice would you offer others seeking inner clarity and purpose?
Okay, I'm a member of several veterans group, so I'm gonna talk about mental health at this point. And as you know, veterans engage in a lot of activities for their mental health.
Yes.
For example, some in the biking, a lot of them into fitness.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
uh, my group, as a VA group that I'm a member of, we go. We're older guys, so we go bowling. But some of the younger guys, they still, they like to jump out of planes with go parachuting and hang.
Really?
I don't do all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
And yeah, they do that stuff. But and then some, as far as their, their mental health, there's a new movement. The kids coming out of Afghan the Afghan and Iraq War, they like gaming, playing the video games. So
Video games.
I'm working with some other veterans to organize a gaming competition at my American Legion post.
Oh,
And
nice.
there's some that are artists. They paint, for their mental health. And
Yeah.
so I'm also I'm going to bring it to our membership to try to organize a veterans art festival. So I'm
Yes.
talking about veterans, but this is going to apply to the society, as well as a whole. So now for me, my mental health, I find solace in writing.
There you go.
It calms me. I love it, and I'm at peace. Now, of course, the VA doctors have taught me some floor exercise. You got stretching, you got yoga,
Yes.
and I do that to also calm myself. And they also teach some de-escalation techniques. Now, if you drive on the highways of America, you know how important de-escalation techniques are. So I
Yeah.
advise all you guys that's into fitness that you teach and everything. Also, I would employ some de-escalation because I've seen some bad things happen on a highway that should have been de-escalated. It didn't have to go that far.
Yes.
So all that's very important for your mental health. But for me, for my mental health, which is very important to me, when I sit down and I write, it just calms me right down. It's beautiful to me, but that's not for everybody.
Right. It's not for everyone,
Yeah.
but for you, that works.
That works for me. It works for me. Yeah.
Have you thought about putting together any writing clubs for veterans?
No, but now you've given me the idea. I'm gonna start working on the art festival because I have a few guys. That's definitely one guy in my American Legion. He's an artist. He paints. So we want to do that for him. But yeah, that is a great idea. I like that.
Yeah. I think it would work.
Yeah.
And you're showing how to put pen to paper and how to get it out there. And I just think, again, that's something that you should definitely look into because it can help other veterans just like you, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my gift to you. But Anthony, anything else you'd like to share with my listeners and viewers today?
No, but I do appreciate all the work that you're doing to try to help keep America fit, and I think that's very important because as a veteran, it's a lot of illnesses that we face that and participating in fitness could really help us a lot. It's some of our illnesses, not all of them, but some. So I appreciate what you're doing for wider, America in trying to keep us fit.
Oh yeah, most definitely, Anthony.
But I hope that for as far as my book, I'm hoping that your readers will be interested in following the relationship between Sophia and Kosef. I think they will find it engaging, and I think they will find it entertaining, and I think that in their growth, their travels through life, I think the stories will help them.
Oh, I'm sure it will. It's a fascinating read, and I think it's very deep, very spiritual, and especially those of us in the African American community, we know the importance of having, support and guidance from those who are our elders, and now like we become elders, ourselves to our kids, so it's important that we each one teach one.
Amen. That's it.
Right?
That's it.
So Anthony Bonapart, on behalf of my nonprofit organization, Body Scope of New York, and my 6 Weeks of Fitness YouTube channel, I want to thank you for coming on my show today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'll be following you, and hopefully we can get together in the future.
Oh, most definitely, man, really. And to my listeners, I truly hope this program was informative, encouraging, and inspiring, and that you will continue tuning in to our 6 Weeks of Fitness podcast. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please leave them in the comment section below or email me at vince@sixweeks.com. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And remember, we don't stop exercising because we grow old. We grow old because we stop exercising. Right, Anthony?
All right.
My brother.